We are on air.
Right. I call the 2,343rd meeting of the Milwaukee City Council to order. This meeting is being conducted by video conference. The public has been invited to participate in this meeting by joining the Zoom webinar or watching on the city's YouTube channel or Comcast cable channel 30 in city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to give oral testimony during today's meeting. If you're interested in speaking, please let staff know by emailing ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. When it is time to take public comment, staff will monitor the email inbox, the Zoom participant list, and the Zoom chat to see if anyone would like to speak. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. The public may submit written comments by email to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. Contamos con servicio de traducción al español cuando sea solicitado. Se pide al público que solicite servicios de traducción y otros servicios de accesibilidad para reuniones por lo menos 48 horas antes de la reunión. Translation services are also available in other languages. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The City of Milwaukee respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homeland of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya, etc. Treaty, with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the Indigenous people of this land. Tonight's announcements. The comment period for the implementation of the comprehensive plan focusing on housing, parking, and trees continues. Learn more and comment by visiting Engage Milwaukee at engage.milwaukeeoregon.gov. Sorry, I'm going to say that again. The website to go into is engage.milwaukeeoregon.gov. The first Planning Commission public hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, October 12th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. to discuss proposed amendments. C. Henderson Llewellyn, Mary Campbell Llewellyn, and Lot Whitcomb tell their stories live and in person at the Ledding Library lecture called They Came Over the Barlow Trail on Saturday, October 9th from 2:15 to 3:45 p.m. The event will be held outside on the back lawn of the Milwaukee Museum. Listen to a live streamed poetry reading by award-winning Judith Barrington on Wednesday, October 13th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on the Ledding Library's YouTube channel. For more information or questions about the reading, contact the series coordinator, Tom Hogan. Save the date for Milwaukee Arbor Day 2021, taking place on Saturday, November 6th from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the city's Johnson Creek building. The event will include tree-themed treats, a ceremonial tree planting, some fun and useful items for attendees to take home, and lots of information about Milwaukee's urban forest program. In addition, volunteers will head out afterwards with Friends of Trees to plant new trees in the city's neighborhoods. Stay tuned for more information as we get closer to November 6th. For more information about each of these events and others, please visit the city's homepage where you will find the city calendar at milwaukeeoregon.gov or call 503-786-7555 and staff will provide you with the information you need or connect you with someone who can help.
Mr. Mayor, can I add an announcement?
Yes, you may.
This Saturday from 10 to noon, there will be a work party in Minthorn Springs Wetlands, which is across 37th Avenue from Milwaukee Marketplace. It's being held by the Milwaukee Parks Foundation and the Wetlands Conservancy. We do require people to sign up in advance because we do limit the numbers due to COVID, and everyone is expected to wear a mask. But people who are interested in coming out to help on Saturday morning, and it's not supposed to be raining on Saturday, we're hopeful, can find it on the Facebook page for the Milwaukee Parks Foundation, or you can look me up on the city's website and email me, and I can send you the details. Thank you.
Anybody else, anything? No, okay. Proclamations and awards. We have a bunch of proclamations tonight. Our first proclamation is the Arbor Day Proclamation, and this will be presented by our Climate and Natural Resource Manager, Natalie Rogers.
Hi there. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let me pull this up really quick. So good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Rogers. I'm the Climate and Natural Resources Manager here at the city. I'm pleased to be here tonight to introduce the proclamation for the city's Arbor Day celebration, which is happening on November 6th. Arbor Day is a very special day that is set aside to raise awareness of trees and the important role that they play in our environment and in our communities. The day is celebrated on different dates around the world, depending on local seasons and climate, often indicating the start of the optimal tree planting season. Our Arbor Day celebration will be held on November 6th from 8:30 to 12 p.m. at our Johnson Creek campus, along with Friends of Trees Milwaukee planting event. Arbor Day 2021 will start off bright and early with a socially distanced ceremonial tree planting and some words from staff on the city's urban forest efforts. Following those activities, the city will host a free tree giveaway, Arbor Day donuts, and an Ask an Arborist booth for the remainder of the event. Friends of Trees will also be staging the Milwaukee planting event at the Johnson Creek campus, so volunteers and residents are encouraged to visit for some refreshments and trees. The 6th is also the first day of the leaf drop, so there'll be plenty of reasons to stop by. More event information can be found on the city's calendar. As you know, our city's urban forest serves a wide variety of ecosystem and community functions that promote the health, safety, and general welfare of our residents and community. Trees help us by shading hot streets and homes, greening our horizons, providing fresh, clean air, stabilizing soils, saving us utility dollars and improving real estate values, and providing essential features in our landscape. All of these services provided by trees directly and indirectly benefit Milwaukee's residents and businesses and help us mitigate and adapt to climate change. Because of this, Milwaukee is committed to achieving our goals of 40% canopy cover by 2040 and managing a healthy and vibrant urban forest. Every Milwaukee community member can help us achieve this goal by stopping by our Arbor Day celebration and picking up a free tree to plant in your yard this fall. Or you can encourage your landlord or property owners to plant trees on sites and support your local restoration organizations through volunteering at restoration events when they occur. And to close this out, I just would like to read a short poem called Trees Need Not Walk the Earth by David Rosenthal. Trees need not walk the earth for beauty or for bread. Beauty will come to them where they stand. Here among the children of the sap is no pride of ancestry. A birch may wear no less the mourning than an oak. There are no heirlooms save those of loveliness, in which each tree is kingly in its heritage of grace. Here is but beauty's wisdom, in which all trees are wise. Trees need not walk the earth for beauty or for bread. Beauty will come to them in the rainbow, the sunlight, and the lilac-haunted rain. And bread will come to them as beauty came, in the rainbow, in the sunlight, and in the rain. And we'll be there rain or shine on November 6th. So I encourage everyone to join us then to pick up a tree and a voodoo donut. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks. And stick around, Natalie. We'll do the energy efficiency proclamation right after this one, which is an add to the agenda if people are wondering. All right, I will read the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees play an integral part in capturing and storing carbon and are therefore critical in a solution to the climate crisis. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs of residents, moderate the temperature of increasingly developed and warming cities, clean the air and provide health benefits for the community, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide an improved habitat for fish and wildlife. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, whenever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Mark Gamba, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas, State of Oregon, do hereby proclaim November 6th, 2021 as Arbor Day in Milwaukee, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And I further urge all citizens to plant trees to mitigate climate change and to promote the well-being of this and future generations. Okay. And so do you want to talk about the energy efficiency proclamation, or do you want me to do it?
Take it away.
All right. Well, energy efficiency, as I imagine most people know, is a really important part of the climate solution. The less energy we use, the less energy is required to be made. That allows us to get to 100% renewable energy quicker if we are using energy more efficiently. Many buildings in Oregon, interestingly, historically, were built very energy inefficiently because we had really cheap electricity. And so insulation wasn't a big deal. There were heating schemes where the heat was coming from the ceiling, which is the least efficient way to heat a room. All kinds of things, because we had the big dams out on the Columbia and we had cheap electricity. So now those big dams are needed to bolster the other renewable energy sources, and we all need to reduce energy wherever we can. So tomorrow is Energy Efficiency Day, and we're going to read this small proclamation to call notice to it. Whereas energy efficiency is the cheapest, quickest, and cleanest way to meet Milwaukee's and Oregon's energy needs, avoid dangerous pollution, and reduce utility bills for residents and businesses in our community. And whereas implementing energy efficiency and other clean energy policies and programs can help boost economic opportunities and job creation while continuing to move Milwaukee toward a completely sustainable future. And whereas smarter energy use reduces the amount of electricity and fuels needed to power our lives, which helps avoid power plant emissions that can harm our health, pollute our air, and warm our climate. And whereas energy efficiency makes our homes and workspaces healthier, safer, and more comfortable. And whereas cutting energy waste saves U.S. households billions of dollars on their utility bills every year, up to $500 per household from from appliance energy efficiency standards alone. Whereas improved energy codes for homes and commercial buildings can also significantly reduce utility costs and create new jobs. And Milwaukee supports increasing the minimum levels of efficiency for new buildings through adoption of the REACH code or the Model 2021 International Energy Conservation Code, the IECC. And whereas the residents of Milwaukee have access to and can benefit from participation in the residential energy efficiency program offered by the Energy Trust of Oregon. And whereas from 2002 to 2019, over 7,000 residents and 789 businesses have together saved 417 million kilowatt hours. And whereas saving said electricity through efficiency also saved Milwaukee residents, schools, and businesses over $34 million on their utility bills and helped those utilities to avoid emitting 25,000 tons of carbon dioxide. And whereas the city of Milwaukee is currently engaged in the Energy Trust Strategic Energy Management offering, which identifies and implements low and no cost behavioral and operational opportunities to acquire additional energy savings in city facilities, including the Leading Library, City Hall, and the Public Safety Building. And whereas a nationwide network of energy efficiency groups and partners has designated the first Wednesday in October as National Annual Energy Efficiency Day. And whereas together we can continue to contribute to the city's sustainability efforts by learning more about energy efficiency and practicing smarter energy use in our daily lives. Now, therefore, I, Mark Gamba, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas in the state of Oregon, do hereby proclaim October 6, 2021 to be Energy Efficiency Day in Milwaukee, and do hereby urge all community members to join the city in supporting our shared clean energy goals to better move toward more energy efficiency now and in the future. Okay, our next proclamation is Indigenous Peoples Day, and this will be presented by our Councilor Angel Falconer. Thank you, Natalie.
Hi, everyone. So as you know, this is I think the second year we have recognized Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day here at City Council. And I'm happy to report that the state of Oregon now also recognizes and as a state holiday, Indigenous Peoples Day. It's certainly long overdue. And I guess I would just sort of point out this time around, again, maybe point folks to the Grand Ronde's website to learn more about the people, the millions of people who lived on these lands before the white settlers that our streets and neighborhoods are named after ever were given the opportunity to come and live on these lands. Because that's a great place, I think, to start in terms of our learning and correcting the historical record. I'm a little sad that the pandemic, certainly derailed our efforts. The mayor and I joined Anne and Scott a couple of years ago to start to have a much deeper relationship with the Grand Ronde, and there were some really obviously some great conversation and some good ideas that we started to sort of form about how we would have a more inclusive relationship with the tribes and ways that we could contribute and they could contribute and we could all sort of learn from each other. And so unfortunately that hasn't happened. We expected to go out and tour the cultural center, and we were hoping to join with them on their annual float down the Willamette, and none of those things happened. So a little sad that they aren't represented here today even. And I look forward to continuing, or I guess I should say rekindling that and working a little bit more collaboratively with them in the future. But today I am honored to present this proclamation again, and hope that you'll all join me in honoring and celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, which is the second Monday in October. So next week.
Mr. Mayor, if I might jump in real quick. Thank you for your remarks, Councilor Faulkner. I'm happy to know that very recently, in the last couple of weeks, staff have had two opportunities to speak with the Grand Ronde, and those conversations have been rekindled. It's been quite heartwarming. We will hopefully have more to share on these fronts soon. But at this moment, I'm pleased to report that we are in active conversation with them. And Mr. Mayor, I'll present the proclamation for you to read, but we also, thanks to our equity program manager, John Hennington, we were informed, and there's a flyer in the council packet about an event on Indigenous Peoples Day that the county is hosting. So I'll cut to that first and give folks a chance to take in that information, and then I'll slide over to the proclamation, Mr. Mayor. So,
okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, good job. I'll start reading the proclamation while you're doing that. Whereas the city of Milwaukee recognizes that the indigenous peoples of the lands known as the Americas have lived on these lands since time immemorial. And whereas this city wishes to honor the fact that the community of Milwaukee is built upon the traditional homelands of the Clackamas people and affirms the legal rights of the 9 federally recognized tribal nations of the state of Oregon and all indigenous peoples everywhere. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas. And whereas this city is committed to protecting and advocating for justice, human rights, and the dignity of all people who live, work, and visit our community, and to supporting the principles contained in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples endorsed by the United States on December 16th, 2010. And whereas the Declaration recognizes the rights of Indigenous peoples to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information, and places an obligation on states to take effective measures in consultation and cooperation with the Indigenous peoples concerned to combat prejudice and eliminate discrimination and to promote tolerance, understanding, and good relations among Indigenous peoples and all other segments of society. And whereas the city wishes to recognize the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day as an opportunity to reflect on the ongoing struggles of Indigenous peoples of this land, to celebrate the thriving cultures and values of the Indigenous people in our region, and to stand with Indigenous peoples everywhere. Now, therefore, I, Mark Gambo, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, a municipal corporation of the County of Clackamas and the State of Oregon, do hereby proclaim October 11th, 2021 to be Indigenous Peoples Day in Milwaukee.
And Mr. Mayor, now on the screen is a little information that the county and Clackamas Community College is putting on an Indigenous Peoples Day on Tuesday, October 12th, and looks like it's an online event on Zoom. And I'll just leave this up for a second to let folks take in. They're working with the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, as it says there.
Thanks, Scott. All right, let's see. Our next proclamation is Archives Month, and this will be presented by our city recorder, Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's good to be with you this evening. I won't say much because I will defer to my colleague at the Historical Society, Greg Heemer, who's here and has a presentation. But on the theme of what Councilor Falconer was just remarking on, it's important work. Archiving the history of our community is important work. And one thing is certainly clear is that there's a lot of history that we don't have and we will never have, but we can go back and collect as much as we can now to document the stories for the folks who were here before 1847, before Lot Whitcomb came to these shores. And we have a lot of work to cut out for us to on that front. And I'm very happy that Greg is here with us and our partners at the museum. They appreciate and share that same feeling that we need to capture all those stories of the past, but also the stories that are being told today that maybe aren't caught in the mainstream of what archives usually catch. So it's a lot for us to work on. And with that, I'll turn it over to Greg, and you tell me when you want me to launch the Zoom or the PowerPoint, Greg.
I thank you, guys. Yeah, go ahead and launch it. I just want to say, thank yous are never enough. Our great city staff and our great city councilors. But all I can tell you is that one Saturday I was hanging out and some ducks, little ducks, got caught down the dam. And one of our city councilors risked their life by swimming into the Willamette River to save them so they would not float down. So that is the true dedication that you have. And these poor little ducklings, some of their heads were ducked into the water and you couldn't even see their heads. And so risking your guys' life into the Willamette for those ducks, that's how great of a city council that you truly are. So Mayor, city council, city staff, and fellow residents, Milwaukee Historical Society owners and operators, of the world's largest museum dedicated to the history of Milwaukee, Milwaukee Museum, located at 3737 Southeast Adams Street and open on Saturdays 1 to 5 p.m. Celebrate along with our wonderful partners, City of Milwaukee Archival Month. Slide. We have had tremendous success with our performance at the museum this year, bringing in over 200 people, mainly families of all ages, to the museum. Speaking of the performance at the museum, come Saturday at 1 p.m. to see Cantor the Enchanter perform Bubble Magic, followed by They Came Over the Barlow Trail as Linda Carr interviews 4 early white settlers, Henderson Llewellyn, Mary Campbell Llewellyn, and Lot Whitcomb. With the city and Willamette Falls Studios as our partners, this is our continuing Letting Library Lecture Series program. The performances will be on the back lawn, so bring a lawn chair or a blanket. We have been working closely with Clackamas County Heritage Council on special projects as well, and part of that is getting in touch with the Grand Ronde so that we can help tell their stories as well. We look forward to the future as the organization grows and residents of Milwaukee celebrate not only the great present of today, but our important history, not only in the state, but the nation. Slide. Our city recorder's office is second to none. Scott, Hannah, and sometimes Dan spend countless hours preserving our city's records based on your decisions. Milwaukee Historical Society strives not only to complement the work of the city recorder's office, but relay stories of people, cultures, businesses, and events that shape Milwaukee, not only from the past, but the present of today. We enjoy our relationship with City Recorder's Office and the ease of working together to share information and provide each other with platforms to distribute the information to our residents. We know today archives are so much more than documents, but the information provided from social media to video recordings to even the written word. Slide. Milwaukee Museum houses the world's largest collection of artifacts, photographs, and documents about Milwaukee, Oregon, although the city may be close. Our collection has countless artifacts related to the past of Milwaukee, and our Claire Cooper Research Library has countless documents and photos of the days gone by. Ardenwald Adventures, an interactive walk around Ardenwald neighborhood, is available on our website. Just like Lots Loop, it features stories at certain stops that you can find by using your mobile device. Slide. Even though Milwaukee Museum is second to none, we have taken great strides to ensure our archives will be viewable and accessible to the public in a comprehensive way. In 2019, we created a collections committee led by Mark Hurlbert, our curator, with Jesse Tremblay and Haley McCoy. They created a new policy for archiving, donating, and preserving our collection into a simpler computerized system where the public will benefit from seeing more of our collection. They will create traveling trunks where artifacts can be displayed at public venues, not only for the residents to enjoy, but also making sure that by leaving the museum, the artifacts will be accounted for and ensured they will be preserved for future generations. We have also created a home history program. For a nominal fee, we will do research on your home, providing you with information of past owners from DLC to current occupants. The documentary research provides home occupants the history and real-life connection to their homes and their past. One of you may have received this wonderful document and appreciates the hard work and dedication the information provides. Slide. We are also trying to complete our archives. Milwaukee Museum is still working on our project entitled Milwaukee 2023. Milwaukee 2023 will help us celebrate the 120th anniversary of our city's incorporation. The project's objective is to collect oral histories from the older generations or generational families from the past decades that may have been lost by time. By the time Milwaukee's 120th birthday, Milwaukee 2023 will have captured these stories either written or videoed and will create a presentation as a birthday gift to Milwaukee residents. If you have any suggestions of lifelong residents or residents with an interesting story about Milwaukee, please let us know. Email us at milwaukee2023@gmail.com. Slide. As you can see, our archives mean a lot to preserving our city's history. Milwaukee Museum now has 2 friends in the archival community at the state. Amy Aschenbrenner, of course, our wonderful city recorder, is now down there. And our new friend, former Governor Roberts, who, of course, built the State Archives building because she walked into a warehouse that was full of wet and nasty paper and could not stand to look at it and have it not be preserved. whether as recorded history from our city recorder's office or from Milwaukee Historical Society. Preserving these records benefit not only ourselves today, but to future generations of Milwaukee. Now, Mayor Gamba, if you could please read the proclamation.
Whereas preserving the story of a place and the people who dwell there in any given moment is essential to understanding a community and how it came to be. And whereas the story of a community can only be complete when all voices and perspectives are heard and included in the shared history of a place and its people. And whereas civic and community archives seek to collect and preserve the documents, tales, traditions, and voices of those who came before us. And whereas civic and community archives could not exist without the professionals and volunteers who work tirelessly to preserve the voices of the community. And whereas Milwaukee's shared history is carefully preserved by the Milwaukee Historical Society and the Office of the City Recorder, who recommend the proclaiming of Archives Month as a reminder that the events of yesterday and today must be documented to better inspire a more perfect future for all residents of our community, regardless of age, race, gender orientation, income, or beliefs. Now, therefore, I, Mark Gamba, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas and State of Oregon, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 as Archives Month in the hope that all voices may be appreciated, recorded, and preserved for the betterment of all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Greg.
Good job, Greg. Yep. All right, and the last one, I think, is the Community Planning Month Proclamation. This will be presented by our Planning Manager, Laura Weigel.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Nice to see you all. My name is Laura, and I'm the Planning Manager here at the city. I wanted to thank you all for your time here tonight, acknowledging National Community Planning Month. Before I hand this over to the Mayor, I'd like to thank everyone here in Milwaukee who contributes to planning our wonderful city. From the council who plans with the community to determine the vision for the city, to the planning commissioners who help guide the development of the city, and to each person who attends an open house, completes a survey, goes to Engage Milwaukee, comments at the farmers markets, comments all along the way. Thank you. You are the community in Community Planning Month, and your thoughts and opinions are critical to the success of the city. We couldn't do it without you, and we hope to hear from all of you. We want all voices at the table. We want to hear from all the folks that we hear from regularly and all those folks that we don't hear from all the time. We want you all at the table to share your thoughts and opinions about guiding the future of our city. So I look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you so much. And with that, Mayor, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. Whereas community planning provides a wide range of benefits, including opportunities to evaluate and manage the constant change that affects cities and the region in a way that provides better choices for how people work, play, and live, involve and empower residents, students, workers, and business owners in making choices that determine the future of their community, and educate public officials and community members so that they understand, support, question, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories, and whereas the American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorse National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions sound planning makes to the quality of our built and natural environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the Planning Commission, the Design and Landmarks Committee, and other resident planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of Milwaukee, as well as to recognize the valuable contributions made by the city's professional planners and extend our thanks for the continued commitment to public service by all of these individuals. Now, therefore, I, Mark Gamba, Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, a municipal corporation in the County of Clackamas and the State of Oregon, do hereby proclaim that the month of October 2021 as Community Planning Month in the city of Milwaukee, in conjunction with the National Celebration of Community Planning Month. Thanks, Laura. All righty. City manager updates.
So I think I have only two. The first one is we've been talking about Milwaukee Bay Park and our local agreements with Clackamas County. I just wanted to give everyone an update both here and on air. The conversations have been going very well with the staff, but they are still ongoing. So we have made some final edits on two IGAs. The first one is a construction IGA for the construction of Milwaukee Bay Park. The second one is on the financing IGA that we signed, you all signed last year about this time actually, to fund the development of the park. So we had a conversation last week with the staff. That conversation was well received, and we have sent back what I hope are our final edits. Our goal would be that this then goes back to the county for approvals in the coming month. Are there any questions about that, or does anybody want to say anything on air about Milwaukee Bay and that process?
Yes, my question would be, have they moved forward on that contract for the next design phase, or is that on hold pending these?
That will go on the same agenda as these agreements. We had originally been very concerned because it was going to push the construction cycle out if that was not approved. Construction cycle has now been pushed out, and we're in slightly less of a rush just because at this point it's pushed out until the following year. I am planning on going to the DAC meeting, so Councilor Nicodemus, I'll be there with you next week for the discussion. It is not currently on the agenda for that discussion, but just on the off chance it does come up, I wanted to make sure that we were able to make comment.
Well, let us know if we need to start going back to county commission meetings.
Will do. I do appreciate, I had a great conversation with the new director last week. I feel like he came to the table with transparently and with true grace and trying to come to a solution. So I just want to give everyone over there that we've been talking to that credit. Okay, yes, Mayor.
I was going to say, did you have a second thing?
I did. So the second one is just, we haven't done an equity update in a little while, and I wanted to give you a quick couple of things that are coming up for all of you so that the public also hears these. The first is that we did end up receiving 16 applications for the new equity strategic committee. Those interviews are going to be the first week in November, and then that committee will be seated. We're hoping that it will start meeting in the new year. The next piece is that we're doing some work behind the scenes with, of course, the leadership of John Hennington. We are working on our internal trainings for the year. We're continuing to do some lunch and learns for staff. This last month, we adopted the new PD policies, and we still have review of HR policies. So John and I will be working with HR over the course of the next 6 months in order to get those reviewed and have discussions about those policies with both HR and employees and members of the community. We are also doing some work around our contracts and procurement process. So we will be starting a process to update our procurement rules to focus on some beneficial points on women and minority-owned businesses. It's something that we haven't actually added to our procurement rules in the past, so it's something we've talked about doing for a long time. Several of the communities in our surrounding neighborhoods are doing similar things, and actually the past organizations I've worked for all have. So we're excited about this opportunity, and we'll be bringing that before council sometime early winter for you all to further discuss that and refine it, and then hopefully adopt some changes to our procurement policies. We're all, the SET team, which is our strategic engagement team, is working with John Hennington on some of how we're doing outreach. So we're going to be doing our community survey in the next couple of months, making sure that the questions we're asking on that survey are the questions that we want actually answered in relationship to our equity goal. We also are going to be looking at the events we hold. What are where are we putting our money and where are we putting our time? So that discussion will be coming back to council as well sometime in the new year. So I just wanted to give John a huge amount of kudos and credit. He's been doing an incredible job, but so much of his work is behind the scenes. And sometimes you don't all get to see it. So I just wanted to call him out and show some of the incredible things that he's been pushing forward. So he'll be before you all talking in November with more updates and more details about this, but just wanted to give you a sneak peek.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, community comments. This is the part of the agenda during which council will hear community member statements regarding city business. Those wishing to speak, please email ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov or raise your hand in Zoom or write a comment in the Zoom chat to indicate you wish to speak. Before you make your comments, please state your name and city residence for the record. If you would like the city to follow up with you, please submit your contact information to ocr@milwaukeeoregon.gov. As council has other business items on the agenda this evening, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Because information provided during community comments may be new, the city manager will respond at the next council meeting to those comments that require follow-up. Before we begin, is there follow-up from the September 21st community comments, Ms. Ober?
There is not.
Scott, what you got?
Mr. Mayor, I see no emails. Double check. Nope, no emails. And I see no hands raised or comments in the chat.
Okey-doke. Then we will move on. Tonight's consent agenda includes minutes of the City Council September 7th, 2021 work session and September 7th, 2021 regular session, a resolution appointing Paul Montone, Gabriela Ugarte to the Arts Committee. I was about to list 3. I don't know why. Does any member of council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Then I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as written.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Passes unanimously. All right, our next item is the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee dissolution. It's a resolution. It's going to be presented by our Climate and Natural Resources Manager, Natalie Rogers.
Good evening again. I'm going to pull this up. Great. Good evening. My name is Natalie, Climate Action and Natural Resources Manager. I'm here representing Peter Passarelli, our Public Works Director, to present the discussion on the dissolution of the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee. So I have to apologize if I don't have the answers to some of your questions. I'm hoping I can lean on Councillor Heisey to fill in the gaps, or I can always bring answers back to you once Peter returns and I can do a little research. The Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee's purpose is to recommend to Council how the Good Neighbor Fund should be prioritized and spent. This fund was established as a part of the intergovernmental agreement between the city and Clackamas County Water Environmental Services for the provision of wastewater treatment services. The committee is comprised of 7 members. including representatives from the city's neighborhood district associations that reside in close proximity to the Kellogg wastewater treatment facility. The members currently are Debbie Espinor, serving as chair, Heather Gates, Shane Abma, Michael Park, our own Kathy Heisey, and then Peter and Greg Irely are serving as staff liaisons for Wes and the city of Milwaukee. So far, the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee has accomplished quite a bit. They have helped or assisted in the completion of the odor control study and project, including aeration basin covers, the Kellogg plant landscape screen, a path going adjacent to Kellogg wastewater treatment facility right next to Willamette, lighting for said path, as well as other amenities, including benches and garbage cans, and then also maintenance and replacement of plantings. And you can see here on the top right that it's quite a lot of effort has been spent to increase the green infrastructure and greenery around the facility. Right now, there is a proposal to switch from a current IGA model, which we have, to a new model, which is being already transferred for Oregon City as well as Gladstone. It's a new form of good neighbor model that's being proposed to Milwaukee. It essentially has expanded use of good neighbor funds, both in purpose and proximity to the facility, and it would allow the city of Milwaukee to directly manage these funds. As you can see, that it has both the current and the new model have the equivalent $1 per month charge added, which would increase those. No worries. Adds a little bit of spookiness to this. It increases the funds. The current model, Water Environmental Services from Clackamas County manages the funds, while in the new model, the city would manage its own funds and project list. I think a really big opportunity is that instead of projects having to be focused within a 200-yard buffer around the plant, it expands the boundary. The Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee recommends that council authorizes and, in the current model, the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee would recommend and council authorizes with the county having final approval over fund spending. While in the new model, the city would essentially have its own direct management of those funds. So I just wanted to, this is a good example of the boundary comparison. So in the, on the left side of the screen, you see that 200-yard buffer around Kellogg wastewater treatment plant. And this is essentially where funds can be spent for greenery and natural resource improvement and other aesthetic improvement. On the right side, this is the Oregon City Tri-City wastewater plant. I circled that in red, and the red dashed line is the buffer, essentially the new spending area, and you can see that it's greatly expanded. So projects that would be eligible for fund spending include recreational improvements such as pathways, parks, and trails, enhancement of fish and wildlife habitat and riparian areas, as well as other natural resource improvements, and then also public education related to wastewater treatment and surface water management. So as an example for the Tri-City Good Neighbor IGA, the agreement calls for funds, so $250,000 in the first year, to be split between the cities based on the number of customers in each city. So this year, approximately 80% of the funds will go to Oregon City and 20% to Gladstone. And these are some examples of projects that both communities have chosen for potential funding, including ADA accessibility, wildlife viewing, as well as trails and natural landscape maintenance. And so with that, I am here to try to answer any of your questions around the dissolution of the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee, as well as the new IGA that's being proposed for the new model.
And I'd just like to also welcome Greg Geist, who is here from Water Environment Services and may actually be the best person of all to answer any questions we might have.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for joining us, Greg. Nice to see you here.
Yeah, once this is all done, we hope to ask Greg's indulgence in catching us up on all the things that are happening out there. But yes, he is the perfect person to answer the questions, potentially, if there are any.
Sorry, I didn't warn you about that when I invited you, did I?
No, but that's par for the course. So happy to do it.
Anybody, anything?
So, I mean, I guess when we have a new IGA, we'll talk about what's the correct size, correct boundary. I mean, that's a conversation for the future, right? Okay. I do want to just say to you, Greg, I brought up last time we discussed this, that at a work session that I had trouble getting through to the odor hotline, and Kathy made some calls to make sure it was working. And I actually just now, while I closed off my camera, called it, and it starts with the recording, but it cuts off. And so it does not let you leave any message. So the odor hotline still needs some attention.
I apologize for that. And I watched that work session earlier today, and it's in my notes. Follow up on that. So
no,
we will make sure it works.
It was working before I listened. Yeah, I've listened all the way through, and it played the full message and beeped. So I'm sure it can be remedied at some point.
Anybody else? Any questions?
You're asking just for questions about this, right? And you talk to Greg further about other things after this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get through the dissolution of the Good Neighbor Committee, Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee, and then we can, yes, Kathy.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I just want to say for those who might watch this but didn't have a chance to watch the work session, that we had a good discussion at the work session about this topic, and heard from another member of the committee, and we rehashed how much we appreciate the work that was done by the original iteration of this committee. They really gifted Milwaukee with a beautiful riverfront park that is used by many, many people every day for fishing, for just hanging out, for picnicking, you name it. People are down there all the time, and it really is a wonderful gift. And we're just at a juncture where we have new opportunities and kind of a new direction that we could take this in, that will extend the benefits of these funds to even more residents of Milwaukee. And it is the money of every Milwaukee resident. So I really thank Greg for reaching out to us and saying, hey, we learned a lot from this IGA process and the Good Neighbor process with the Tri-Cities plant. Do you want to consider doing something different in Milwaukee? So that was really a nice invitation from him, and I'm glad that we're at a point where we can take him up on that.
If there are no further comments or questions, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the resolution dissolving the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the resolution dissolving the Kellogg Good Neighbor Committee. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. The motion passes. That's all we had to do. All right, so Greg, what's new? What's happening? What's changing?
Well, so just for the record, my name is Greg Geist. I'm the Director of Clackamas Water and Environment Services. Good evening, Mayor Gamba and councilors. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. And I have to say, I have kind of a soft spot for the Good Neighbor Committee. It was established about the time that I came to WES. And I think it really, as we say, ushered in a watershed moment in the relationship between the city and WES. of coordination and cooperation and true partnership. And I'm really, truly thankful for that. And that said, we did learn from it, and we're a learning organization, and we try to do continuous improvement. And so I think what we're looking at moving forward, which I'm equally excited about, is, giving the city more flexibility in the work that they do under the agreement, expanding the boundary significantly, I hope, up Kellogg and Johnson Creek and who knows where, and really significantly streamlining the administrative process. So I just want to say thank you, and I look forward to what comes next. As far as what comes next at Kellogg, I mean, we just finished a major upgrade, and part of that was odor control. The plant looks beautiful. It really does. And I would love to show you. I had the pleasure of working with Councilor Beatty 2 weekends ago and given a couple tours. And I had not been to the plant in a few months. And it looked wonderful compared to where it did before we started this $17 million upgrade. And so I look forward to bringing the community in to our facility and educating them and, offering that opportunity. So, and there's more to come. And as far as the odors go and the truck traffic, we've got plans in our 5-year capital, our 5-year horizon to do some pretty significant things that will help with truck traffic and odors. So, I'm just really excited, and I'm thankful for this opportunity, and we'll see you soon, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
What, how and when do you expect to start having the conversation about the new concept around the Good Neighbor Fund?
That's a great question. I don't know yet. I will look to Ann, and we will set up a meeting, and I'd say in the next couple of weeks, we'll start hammering it out. Yeah.
Cool.
Our intention was that would happen this winter, Mayor.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. I also just really appreciate, as always, Greg, making sure that we're up to date. He's always the one with the best information about what's happening down on the water too. So I also appreciate that he is always including us and making sure that we're aware of what's happening in the region and specifically in our own front yard. So thank you, Greg, for being here tonight, and thanks for your help.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I also wanted to say thank you for your participation in the event 2 weeks ago, the duck races and the Come Play in Milwaukee Bay. People really enjoyed the tour. The first tour got a little rained out, but we had a nice start to the event and a nice end to the event, but we had about 15 minutes of downpour in the middle. But I heard from several people that they really enjoyed the tour, and I was sorry not to be able to go on the tour because I was involved in other things that day. But so I would love to go on a tour another time, and maybe some of the other counselors would too. Can I shift from Kellogg? And I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you to do a presentation on this or anything, but one of the other things I do for council is I sit on the North Clackamas Watershed Council Board, and Gail Shalom from WES has come to talk about Three Creeks and your planning for Three Creeks. And I think that would be a pretty interesting, I think it would be interesting for us to get a presentation on that, and whether that's a standalone presentation or whether that's part of the next time you come in your annual sort of presentation. I mean, I defer to you and Ann on that, but I think what you're studying, what you're planning for Three Creeks is pretty important for the region and would be of interest to council.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that. And yeah, that's a huge opportunity. And Ann and I have touched briefly on it, and we're in pretty conceptual stages on, what we might want to do there. And yeah, we would love to get your input. I mean, it's literally next door to Milwaukee, and there's definitely different opportunities about, what we can potentially do there, whether we want to focus on flood control or habitat or you know, nature trails. So yeah, I will work with Anne and we will put something together.
Great.
And I believe that Wes is with us for a study session in the next few months. So does it work for you, Greg, just to tie it into that?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You've always been a great partner.
Thank you. And you too.
All right. Where are we?
I believe that concludes this meeting.
That is the end. After this meeting, the council will meet as the Milwaukee Redevelopment Commission. The commission will meet on the same Zoom meeting link as this meeting, so don't go anywhere if you'd like to watch the MRC meeting. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None heard. We are adjourned. But don't go anywhere. All right. I call the Redevelopment Commission to order. First item of business is to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion about the March 9th, 2021 Commission minutes? In that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the March 9th, 2021 Redevelopment Commission meeting minutes.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the March 9th, 2021 Redevelopment Commission minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? None heard? Passes unanimously. All right, the 5-year action plan and update, and this will be presented by our interim commission executive director, Kelly Brooks.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you all. And I'm going to consider it a win if I can call you commissioners throughout the entire thing. I have a hard time with that. I want to just give you a quick update on where we are. We're driving towards coming up with an action plan for the MRC so that we can, in short, put the right numbers in the budget that we adopt for the next couple of fiscal years. So trying to wrap our heads around what projects and programs we can fund over a 5-year period. And this will be the first kind of major expenditures, really of any expenditures out of the Arbor Renewal Fund since it was created. So I'm gonna kind of jump in here. I've got a little presentation mainly to keep my thoughts straight, but if any time you want me to stop or slow down, just let me know. And let's see. Okay, does everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to give a quick recap of advisory meetings. So we've had 4. It's a wonderful committee. I have to give a lot of props to Commissioner Heisey and Layla and Allison too for recruiting a really top-notch group of folks. So I've enjoyed getting to know them. For the first meeting, we really just did introductions and got to know each other. For the next 2 meetings, we had Elaine Howard, who was the consultant that actually helped pull together Milwaukee's Urban Renewal Plan, come and do what we called Urban Renewal 101. So that was 2 meetings. And then the last meeting, which is what I'm going to spend most of the time on, was I would consider probably our first meeting of substance, where we talked about what's in our plan and what are some of the things that we could do with the resources that we have. So I'm going to go through that with you all tonight because I just think it would be good for you all to all be on the same page and see what they've seen. I'm going to talk just a little bit about our draft work plan right now for the rest of 2021. And then I do have hot off the press our financial projections. So how much money do we think we could actually bond for? So I'm gonna share that with you. The advisory committee doesn't have that yet. So this is my high level. What is this all about? So the what of our urban renewal area, it's a district. We have an adopted plan that goes with that district, and it allows us to use tax increment financing. Why would we want to do that? It can help us overcome obstacles to development of poorly developed areas within the city. This is where I've put this little purple sun. If you and any children in your life have watched Tangled, it's the updated version of the Rapunzel story from Disney. It looks like that and it reminds me every time. But the purposes of it on these charts is for me to take a moment and reflect on kind of equity. So urban renewal has very problematic history with displacing people because they were in poorly developed, what were considered poorly developed areas. So we are really trying to go into this with our eyes really wide open and continually ask ourselves at each stage, who are we helping and who are we hurting, with a recognition that this tool in and of itself has been harmful. Then the how. So how can we use tax increment financing to change Milwaukee? We can build infrastructure. We can acquire or rehab property, and we can make improvements to public spaces. That's not everything, but those are kind of the high level ways that you can make investments with urban renewal resources. This is our district, just in case if you haven't seen it in a while. It's big. It covers all of downtown. It also crosses 224, the Milwaukee Marketplace, the Hillside Development. All of that is actually within our urban renewal area. And that is where we can spend these dollars. So these, I created this little chart of what are the goals in the plan. So our first goal is public involvement. The expectation is that we do that throughout implementation, that our engagement is diverse, and that it's meaningful and timely. The second goal is economic development / development. Some of the goals that are highlighted in there are to have an 18-hour Main Street, to help support the growth and vitality of our existing businesses. So not just bringing in new, but helping support the businesses that we have and minimizing displacement. Under infrastructure, public spaces and transportation, we can support new development. McLaughlin, typo there. It was a big focus of the infrastructure in our urban renewal plan, how McLaughlin functions as a gateway to the city. And then improving access to and within central Milwaukee was another major thing that was called out under this goal. A sense of place is the fourth goal, and a lot of reference to featuring the natural environment, especially the Willamette River, fostering a sense of place within central Milwaukee, and building on existing assets in downtown. Last but not least, fiscal stewardship is the last goal. And part of what we need to do there is share annual project and financial activities with our partner taxing jurisdictions. Obviously, this district has an impact on our intergovernmental partners that aren't collecting those resources while it's in effect. So this isn't everything. If you open the plan, you find lots and lots and lots of information. The goal of this chart was just to start trying to get our advisory committee members to start seeing what types of actions can fall under what goals. So here's some examples of projects that are within the plan that fall under the major work types. So under development and economic development, you can do pre-development assistance. So that's some of the work we're kind of doing at Sparrow, right? So you can go do the type 1 analysis, you can do survey, you can do things that help make that site more developable. The actual developer assistance, we can help construct frontage improvements. We can align our capital projects in a way that facilitate that site being developed. So like the stormwater project on Meek. We can also do tenant improvements. So for commercial spaces, we can invest in that. Anything that's, you have to build something. I can't give you money to pay your rent, but I can do storefront improvement. Transportation is divided in the plan between downtown and central Milwaukee. So under downtown, the plan calls out streetscape improvements, parking solutions, and McLaughlin Boulevard improvements. In central Milwaukee, it speaks to the Monroe Greenway, central Milwaukee bikeway connections, and improved transit stops. And then under the public amenities and parks and open space, there's a call out for Riverfront Park, which is now Milwaukee Bay Park, Dogwood and Scott Park are all mentioned. Again, there's more There's more in the plan. Just wanted to give folks an idea of what types of projects could fall under these different categories. So if you look at where we thought we were going to go overall between these different categories, for the life of the district, which is 29 years, right? Commissioner Heisey, it's 29 years is the total. At the end of all that, we would have spent 55% of the money on infrastructure, 29% on economic development activities, 12% on public amenities, and 4% on administration of the district. Within the first 5 years, which is what we're doing an action plan for, it's split between equal spending on infrastructure and economic development, and then that 4% for administration. And I would look to those commissioners that were a part of the plan if you want to speak to that weighting and what discussion you all had around that first 5-year period. But from what I've heard, a lot of interest in doing those ready infrastructure projects that you could get moving, and a lot of interest in seeding economic development. So how could you bring more business in? What can you do to get more business in? Because then that seeds the district, right? The more activity we have, the more increment we're creating, which allows us to do more work. So you want to make those investments early in the plan. Okay, so then I just showed them stuff downtown. So I put a picture of City Hall. We are going to be redeveloping City Hall. It's on Main Street. You could make investments there. I showed the horrible crosswalk paint that drives me crazy. As an example of something that you could kind of an easy thing if you wanted, we could work with the state. I also want, when we get further down into project refinement, we may come up with things that we want other people to do. So this might be one of those things where it's like, we don't want to pay for that, but we'd like to call ODOT and see if you could repaint the crosswalks. Then I have a picture of the plaza, and I put this here because there are actual things in the urban renewal plan that we've done. We just didn't spend urban renewal money on them. So we constructed the plaza, but there are improvements to Dogwood that aren't going to be constructed as a part of Coho that could help provide more shade. We've talked about the sails on top. We've got the vertical element that we don't have yet, and how you could make that space more usable for the farmers market. So that is a potential investment area. In Central Milwaukee, I tried to show them Hillside, even though it's in that weird little corner, but just highlighting the fact that we do a lot of housing that's being in the Monroe site, right? A lot of housing units that are going in, and then we also have no grocery store. We made it clear, and Commissioner Heisey helped me. I can't buy a grocery store. I can't put a grocery store in here with urban renewal, but we can make investments. We can build out our bikeway connections and do some things here that try to make this whole area more appealing and supports those types of housing. Bringing in those additional residents hopefully brings in the customers that will one day go to a grocery store. So we talked a lot about Central Milwaukee, and I think here's where folks really did start to kind of think about leverage. And you'll hear that a lot. So there's not a lot of money here. How can this money best be utilized to leverage and build upon other projects that are either city projects or private projects? Then we talked about what I call the programs, but it's what can we do that's not building stuff? So do we want to do a storefront improvement program? Beaverton has a pretty active and robust one. We could do that. Is there something more specific around, kind of tenant improvements that help people move into spaces that we help pay for some of that? I think, and so this is where we had a lot of discussion, and it was really helpful. All businesses aren't the same. So during COVID, you've seen us as a city investing. Most of our business support has been in outdoor seating, right? Or those types of, and so there were some comments about, hey, restaurants are great, but we're not all restaurants. And a lot of feedback too on outreach, and it's not all about the big guys. I think a lot of times when we talk about site readiness and development assistance, people hear big developers. And so I heard kind of loud and clear, like, you need to not, it's not all about the big developers. We need to have some programs that help support kind of our small existing businesses do what they need to do. And got some just ideas and thoughts around how, and I'm still processing, and I'd like to hear from you too, just how best to do some business outreach here to inform what this should be. I think there's a lot of interest there, but what is it that we offer and how can that be useful? So I'm just gonna, this is my super very visually appealing slide. So some of the emerging themes that we continue to touch on, and I think we'll keep talking through, is that who do we help and who do we hurt? So how can we keep asking ourselves that at every step of this process? We need programs that help existing businesses, not just ones we want to attract. We need to remove barriers to getting downtown, and some of these are quite simple. I think that's what I always think about big projects. And we got a comment like, hey, I would ride my bike. I don't know where to park it. Can you just put like secure bike parking downtown? Because then I would ride it here. You know, how to kind of think about, you know, or even wayfinding. We've done some wayfinding, but, you know, we heard a lot. It's like Milwaukee's special, we're special. People, when they come here for special things, do they know how to get to those things? So, you know, just how to put those pieces together and think about investments that the URA could make or the MRC could make in those types of kind of smaller scale amenities that just make downtown more accessible to people who want to be there. Doing the right outreach came up a lot. And I'm going to tell you, this is the one that makes me the most nervous just from a staffing perspective, because right now doing the right outreach is me and Janine. So I think, but I heard a lot about kind of old surveys that didn't work or information that came back that was that just wasn't as helpful. So I think continuing to just, we're going to make these investments. How can we talk to the right people about making sure the investments are helpful and needed? And I have some ideas on that in a little bit, but probably will need more back and forth with you all to continue to refine the questions for the public. The other one was a really good one too, which I think, you know, how has the pandemic, how do we think about it? Has COVID changed? This plan is, you know, 4 or 5 years old at this point. What of our assumptions from the previous plan should change or might be different about where people want to be? And I think it's partly this gathering, you know, where do people want to gather, and how should we invest? One of the next things that we need to do is, and we'll be talking about the next meeting, is criteria. So we're going to have to score some of these different projects and see how they stack up. Some of the ones that I always like, one is leverage, right? You can add it up. You can say, okay, particularly when we've got like park projects that are moving ahead, it's pretty easy to see, okay, if I make investments at Scott Park, I add the capital, I add this much money over here, and this is what it gets. I'm going to make this investment over in Central Milwaukee that could leverage these funds in the Monroe Greenway and would also leverage the fact that we have housing. I think this is where you capture the housing too, because you could add, it could be an additive feature that you capture with leverage. So that's one place that they're interested. I know we'll see. The next is feasibility. So we do want to pay for things that can actually be completed. TIF eligibility, it seems like a no-brainer, but we just kind of have to keep reminding ourselves that we can only spend money on TIF eligible activities. And then readiness, and that is one for us to talk through, I think, with you all is, to me, readiness is, can you do it within the life of the plan? The action plan. So are we looking at 5-year, are we looking at things that we can actually do and complete within this 5-year period? But we'll have a lot more discussion about criteria. Obviously, would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. And then, yay, 10 million. So 10 million is what, it's actually 10.2, is what we're projected to be able to issue debt to spend for the first 5 years. So it's a lot, but it's not, you're gonna have to pick and make some hard choices for 10. So that's what we're working with. In terms of public engagement right now, I'm looking at doing an Engage Milwaukee page. I'd like to get that up sooner rather than later. To do some online surveys there. We do have our public meetings, this meeting and our advisory committee. Business outreach, I've been working with Janine on that. And I know there's going to be just some door to door, just going in and checking. She wants to get to know people anyway. Also, we do have some fairly good lists right now because of the COVID grant funds. So formulating those questions and what we want to go out to them and ask. I'd like to have an actual online open house after we have a draft plan. I think that would be more in that January timeframe so that we can share it. This is all nuts and bolts, but actually share where we're headed with a draft plan. I'm working with John, I have my son, on the equity outreach as well and how to do that intentionally, and have more work to do there. But it's another part of the outreach that we need to happen in the fall. So this is the very rough work plan. So we had our first conversation about what are some of the investment priorities we might care the most about as a group, and who do we want to talk to about them. In October, they're going to see the financial projections, and we're going to talk more about screening criteria. November, I was hoping to give them an engagement update and continue talking through projects. And that's when you'd start to see sort of the projects. You guys have probably experienced those massive metro bubble charts. Something less massive than that, but something that just kind of shows you, here's how this project kind of lines up with our project goals. This is how I would kind of rank it in terms of feasibility and leverage and other things, and start playing with those different pieces. I'd love it if I can get to a draft action plan by December. I think that might be incredibly ambitious, given that we meet the fourth Thursday of the month, and December and November have pretty prominent holidays that happen in that time frame. So I have a little crash course happening with my work plan. But if we can get to some kind of a draft plan that we can share more robustly with the public in January. What I really need is, by March, I need the rough outlines. I don't need to know all the projects that we want to do, but I need to know enough about those projects to be able to say, okay, this percentage in economic development, this percentage in downtown infrastructure, all that, so that I feel like our budget that we adopt gives us a launching point to be able to actually move on projects, because I don't want to come back in 2 years and be like, we still haven't built that stuff. So I think if we can get to those outlines in March, that'll give us what we need for the budget process, and then we can continue to talk about what within those categories we really want to do. I'm going to stop sharing. Commissioner Heisey, I would welcome any thoughts or input on kind of where you think we are.
Yeah, I think that I think we're really ambitious, and I mean that in the best possible way. You know, it was a very challenging time to have our community development director depart in terms of this process, and I really am grateful to Kelly for stepping in and running with it. She's really done an incredible job of just making this process go, and making it go in a way that doesn't sacrifice quality or integrity or anything. So I really thank Kelly, and we all should be thanking Kelly for the fact that we are able to have this conversation at the level we're having it today. We have a great committee. I love this group of people. It's really fun. You know, it was a little nerve-wracking to start it up and have all these long presentations over the summer, and I was worried that we were going to lose people. And when we got to meeting number 4, where it was really, let's start talking about what this is going to look like and what these decisions we're going to be making really look like, everyone was on. So we really have, great people from all walks of life on this committee. We have business owners, we have residents, we have renters, you name it, we've got it. And I love that they're showing up with curiosity and passion, and they really are experts about this community. And I don't think we could do better than to have these folks helping us figure out what needs to happen in the first 5 years. And Councilor Nicodemus was also part of that interview process, so he knows a little bit about what I'm talking about here. Other than that, I think just, questions that you got for us, if you have any at this point.
I don't know as much a question as a thought, but when we started all of this, however many zillion years ago, I was kind of on the fence about it. The reading I had done about it was you really wanted to be trying to work with a blighted area to solve problems and have it not be blighted anymore. And I didn't really consider much of Milwaukee blighted. At this point, I would describe the Oak Street Shopping Center as blighted. It is, the anchor store there has been empty now for 3 years, 4 years, I can't remember. And it's losing the other tenants. You go through that parking lot, it's empty. I don't know what we can do in that realm, but I would put that as a pretty high priority, because it not only creates another place for people to shop for food. I wouldn't exactly describe Milwaukee as a food desert, but it is certainly limited in our opportunities to purchase groceries. But as I said, it's destroying the rest of that shopping center. I mean, really, the anchor right now is the liquor store, and that's saying something in and of itself.
It's a good liquor store, though.
It's a good liquor store. So I would be very interested in hearing concepts around how other cities have dealt with what I think is really recalcitrant landlords. I've had conversations with 3 different grocery store chains that have expressed interest and had conversations, and they've gone, nope, no thanks, not going to do it. So what do we got? What are some ideas?
Well, I can tell you that that's a little farther down the road than our conversations have been to date. And it looks like Ann and Kelly both might have something to say. I can also tell you that in our conversations on the committee, folks were very focused and very interested in doing something about that. The need for a grocery store is very well understood by this group of folks. And not just the need for the grocery store, but the need to make access to it more equitable. So you don't have to get into your car to get to it in order to feel safe. There's a lot of interest in making it more, making it feel safe to walk there, bike there, walk with your kid, that sort of thing, and to just overall integrate it better into the community.
Do you mind if I jump in? I think I would just underscore that I was kind of asking people, what problems do you want to solve? If you could pick, and there's definitely a lot of interest in what you're saying. Like, this is not great. We would like this to be different. In terms of how we would make it different, that would be a research exercise. And I would love to actually talk to Joseph when he comes too about his thoughts and ideas, and try to get how have other communities been able to use their urban renewal resources to support redevelopment of a shopping center like that. I think would be a great question to ask, and we could see if we could come up with it. But I did hear loud and clear that we don't want that if it's too expensive for everybody to go to. So it was really like, I would rather pay for things that I know everyone can use than invest in something that maybe doesn't really help everyone, even if it's full. So there was a lot of feedback like that, which I know, Commissioner, you mentioned as well, but I heard that pretty loud.
I don't know, Anne, did you have something else to add to that point? Because what I've since learned, about the opportunities with urban renewal isn't about necessarily just about redevelopment of quote unquote blighted, but really thinking about it in a completely different way and really using it for some of the things that Kelly, you've already mentioned, which is to prevent the displacement and to support small and emerging businesses. And that's for me the most exciting, I think, in terms like programmatic and like developing the developer, sorts of uses for that type of money to really help, because otherwise, this becomes a tool that's used for the big established developers. And it's just one more thing that they have that they can, and maybe they don't even need it, because as soon as those houses, as soon as all these units come online in central Milwaukee, there's going to be a whole lot that problem might fix itself without a whole lot of help from us. But there's already pressure, and potentially missed opportunity in places that are already sort of established business areas. And, I really fear, we miss an opportunity to use this money to prevent the kind of, displacement and things that have happened with urban renewal in the past. And so that's, to me, the most intriguing, the most exciting, and maybe probably the least exercised way of using this money. So, but I know that there are people, who also are, who informed me, and so I know there's a whole lot of knowledge out there about the way that we can actually make sure that we use it for good.
And I think that's another thing that we heard, again, from this committee loud and clear, was a real interest in making sure that we're thinking about how to support our local businesses. We have 2 local business people on the committee, one of whom is a small business owner, one of whom is a large business owner. So we have both of those perspectives, and a lot of people who just care deeply and have personal relationships with our small business owners already, so they understand what the challenges are. Actually, we've got more. We've got 2 small business owners. Anyway, so I think that's certainly the perspective I bring, Commissioner Faulkner, is wanting to make sure that we're not we're not displacing, and that we're really thinking about how we are enriching the lives of the people who've already invested in being a presence in Milwaukee and being a part of this community, and making sure that whatever we do doesn't make it so that they can't be here anymore. That's antithetical to what this is really supposed to achieve.
Yeah, and I would just maybe add, in addition to folks who are already here, in attracting new businesses, not only attracting the big established, businesses, attracting additional small business owner or would-be business owners, people who aren't necessarily developers or business owners yet, but could be if we program this money with that in mind.
Yeah, and we in particular have we have even more latitude to do some really exciting stuff around that, not as the MRC alone, but by also leveraging those CET funds that are business focused. And I've had some good conversations with folks who are smarter than I am about this stuff, about how those 2 things together can honestly help us work toward our equity goals in some really meaningful, powerful ways that give me chills when I think about it. I think I cut you off earlier, Anne. Sorry, I got excited.
No, actually, I was just going to give you some credit. Part of where we started this, Commissioner Faulkner, was actually at the request of Commissioner Heisey, really focusing on who's doing this right, not who's doing this wrong. So we've had a lot of conversations about how we build what you're talking about and how we support what we want, not the shiny, but how do we support the things that we actually create the great Milwaukee that we love. So I actually have appreciated that, and I've learned a lot in that process too. So it's been a helpful endeavor. I also think when we talk about Central Milwaukee, we just would be remiss if we're not also looking at the people we'll need to engage coming into Hillside and to the new Monroe apartments. And I think that also starts helping us drive more of the vision that you're talking about.
And that came up in our conversation about outreach, that we needed to figure out a way to get to Hillside folks.
And I think it's really important that we just talk about the cat for one moment, because we're I really
Lisa's very distracting kitten.
very
Sorry, I looked like I was laughing about really important outreach, but
just a key moment now. I did want to say, I mean, I agree with the point that Councilor Falconer made about the grocery store issue may resolve itself. We have 600 units starting this fall, and that's not including Coho, and that's not including Hillside. So we have a lot of new housing coming in that will, I do think there's an opportunity for the new community development director to make a push for a grocery store again. I think it's a perfect time to do that and like be sending out some kind of prospectus that says, look at all this new housing coming into Milwaukee. I have just seen, I was doing some Googling of census numbers. I think it looks like our census number may be close to 22,000 instead of the number we saw earlier tonight. So, and that's before all these 600 plus new units. So I agree. I'm not sure that, I hope that grocery store issue will resolve itself. And I'm all for supporting the existing businesses. I don't know that, I mean, the city did do a storefront improvement grant project, I don't know, 8 years ago or something. And I think it was a mix of some Metro money and some city money. And I know Cha 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 and a few other businesses, took benefit of that. If we're thinking about those kind of things, I think we need to know for sure that the longevity of the buildings that they're in and the owners' plans before we spend a lot of money on that stuff. I do think the other piece that is in some tension with this is that we kind of made a commitment to our other taxing partners that it is the thing that Kelly mentioned earlier, that it's improving raising the tax base, doing things that raise the tax base. So I think we do have to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
we have two lovely members, one from the fire department and one from NCPRD, who serve as ex officio members on the committee, and are definitely engaged in contributing to the discussion.
And before we get too far into commitments on the what, also, I just want to pull out, we have an opportunity. We've got a bunch of community members who are pretty incredible and putting in a lot of extra time. So I also just want to hold some space for hearing from them. I think that part of this is just letting you know that this is the process we're in. This is how we're going to be taking it forward. But we have some incredible humans who are participating in that process, and they were chosen because they represent similar desires as to this council and to this community. And so I also don't want anyone watching tonight to think that we don't want you to bring that forward. I'm excited about seeing where they come from and what they bring to the meetings. Sorry to interrupt you, Commissioner.
That's right. I want to say, first of all, that I agree with Councilor Falconer, or Commissioner Falconer, and everyone else who's talked about the unusual ways, the better ways to use this kind of money. It's why I was on the fence clear back, was that I had seen a lot of urban renewal money be used for the shiny thing and not actually do damage to communities. But I want to go back for a second to the grocery store thing, because I think I may not have said it well. It has not been a problem of them thinking there wasn't the population base. I have told the story of all the developments that were headed our way. And the people I was speaking to were long range enough thinkers and looked at all the things going on and said, okay, we get it. Yeah, it makes sense. They weren't the problem. The problem was Kimco. And that's the question that I'm trying to get at, is how do we break that loose?
I will also say we have a great partner right now on working with Kimco on that site, and that is the development coming in right behind. And those permits have been pulled. We are expecting construction to start in the very near future at that site. And that will also add some additional and new conversations about the possibilities for grocery success at that site.
Just for reference, I didn't include it because I had a perfect idea of how to fix it. I included it as I think, Commissioner Gambett's like, it's an example of a part of the city that's not meeting our needs that we'd like to improve. So.
Yeah.
But I thought you were bringing only solutions to this, Kelly.
No, today I brought problems and half-baked opportunities.
They're wonderful problems, and they're important problems. I really appreciate it.
It's going on a mug for you at some point in your future.
Problems and half-baked opportunities.
Somebody write that one down. Yeah.
No, it just helps me. Again, it's a little bit about percentages. So, you know, how much percentage, I'm hearing a high percentage in small business support and then economic development support that helps keep, and I'm hearing a little less on infrastructure today, unless you can kind of show that connection. But anyway, it's just nice to hear you talk it through.
Well, I'm very curious to learn what Commissioner Falconer and Commissioner Heisey have learned in their recent conversations. So sometime, somehow.
That's all I had for tonight. Are you all comfortable with this? I'm going to come back once a month for a while, just to give you updates on where the committee is and their work. And I will let you know if things start needing to slide because of holidays, and I apologize in advance for that. But we'll be in regular communication, I think, through March.
Good.
To try to hit the budget.
Cool. Anybody else? Any last words? Are there any further commission reports? Other than the report on the cute kitten. You're muted.
Yes, I guess he's hungry. I think that's what it's about. But I do need to, find a life jacket.
All right, I will.
My back has many scars on it.
He's grown. He had a growth spurt.
He's a big boy. Yeah.
All right. If there are no further commission reports, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the commission meeting.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the commission meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None heard. Commission meeting is adjourned.